My wife thought I knew nothing. That was the funny part. Every morning, she kissed my cheek like it meant something. Every night, she slept beside me like her heart wasn't somewhere else. And every time she looked into my eyes, she believed she was looking at a man completely blind to the truth. But one envelope changed her forever. I still remember the exact moment it entered my life. A plain brown envelope, no return address. My name written in shaky blue ink, like the hand that wrote it was unsure whether to warn me or destroy me. At that time, my life looked perfect from the outside. I'm Daniel, 38 years old, married for 11 years to the woman I once believed was my soulmate, Emma. We lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood, the kind where people smile at you but never really know what's happening behind closed doors. White fences, trimmed lawns, weekend barbecues, the illusion of a perfect marriage. Emma and I met in college. She was beautiful in a soft, effortless way, warm eyes, a laugh that made you feel chosen. I was ambitious, steady, reliable. Everyone said we balanced each other. For a long time, we did. But balance can slowly tip, so slowly that you don't notice until everything crashes. The first sign was silence. Not the peaceful kind, the empty kind. Emma used to talk nonstop about her day, her coworkers, her random thoughts. Somewhere along the way, her words became shorter. Her phone became more interesting than me. Her smile stopped reaching her eyes. Whenever I asked, she had an answer ready. I'm just tired. Work has been crazy. You're overthinking again, Daniel. And maybe I was. I wanted to believe her. When you love someone, denial feels safer than doubt. But then came the changes. She started dressing differently. New clothes, new perfume. She took longer showers. She guarded her phone like it held state secrets. And intimacy, real intimacy, slowly disappeared. She was always not in the mood, always rolling away before I could pull her closer. Still, I told myself not to jump to conclusions until the lies began to contradict each other. One Friday evening, she told me she was meeting her friend Lily for dinner. I smiled and told her to have fun. An hour later, Lily posted a story on Instagram from home, alone, watching TV. My chest tightened. I didn't confront Emma. Not yet. I wanted to be sure. I needed proof, not suspicion. That's when I started noticing everything. The late nights, the sudden business trips, the way she'd step outside to take calls, the way her eyes lit up at messages that weren't from me. She thought I knew nothing, and I let her think that. I became quiet, observant. I stopped asking questions and started collecting moments. I memorized her patterns. I studied her lies like a language I was learning fluently. Still, nothing prepared me for the envelope. It arrived on a Tuesday afternoon. I had just come home early from work. Another thing Emma didn't know. The house was quiet. Too quiet. No music. No TV. Just the hum of the refrigerator and the sound of my own breathing. The envelope was tucked halfway into our mailbox. My name. No stamp. Someone had dropped it by hand. I stood there for a long time, staring at it, feeling something cold crawl up my spine. Every instinct told me that once I opened it, there would be no going back. I took it inside, sat at the kitchen table, and opened it. Inside were photographs. My hands started shaking before my mind fully understood what my eyes were seeing. Emma, laughing. Emma, sitting in a cafe I didn't recognize, her hand resting on another man's knee. Emma, walking into a hotel lobby. With him. Emma, kissing him. Not a friendly kiss. Not a misunderstanding. A deep, intimate kiss, the kind she hadn't given me in months. The room started spinning. I felt sick, humiliated, angry, but more than anything, I felt stupid. At the bottom of the envelope was a folded piece of paper. 3 words written in block letters. You deserve the truth. No name. No explanation. Just that. I stared at those words for a long time. Who sent this? Why now? And how long had this been going on? That night, Emma came home smiling. Hey, she said casually, dropping her bag by the door. How was your day? I looked at her. Really looked at her. The same woman I had defended in my mind. The same woman I had trusted with my heart, my life, my future. And there she was, acting like nothing had happened. It was fine, I said. She leaned in to kiss me, and for the first time in our marriage, I turned my face away. She paused. What's wrong? She asked, her voice soft but alert. Nothing, I replied. Just tired. The irony almost made me laugh. That night, I didn't sleep. Emma fell asleep quickly, her back turned to me. I lay there staring at the ceiling, the images from the envelope burning into my mind. Every memory replayed itself differently now. Every late night made sense. Every excuse fit perfectly into place. She was having an affair, and she believed I was clueless. I could have confronted her right then, shaken her awake, thrown the photos in her face, screamed, cried, begged. But something inside me changed. I didn't want answers. I wanted control. If she thought I knew nothing, then I had the advantage. So I decided to play along. The next morning, I kissed her goodbye like everything was normal. I asked her about her day. I smiled at her jokes. I listened carefully as she lied to my face with frightening ease. And all the while, I planned. Because the envelope didn't just reveal her betrayal, it gave me power. Days passed, then weeks. I watched her move through our life like a stranger wearing my wife's face. I noted every detail, every inconsistency, every secret glance at her phone. And then something unexpected happened. Emma started acting nervous. She checked the mailbox before I could. She jumped when the doorbell rang. She asked me strange questions. Did you get any mail today? Has anyone come by the house? You seem different lately. I shrugged it off. Maybe you're imagining things, I said gently. The same words she used on me. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Because somewhere deep inside, she felt it too. Something was coming. She just didn't know what. And neither did I. Because as much as I thought the envelope had told me everything, I was about to discover that it was only the beginning, and that the next secret waiting to surface would change not just her life, but mine forever. What Emma didn't know was that the person who sent me that envelope was closer to her than she could ever imagine. The person who sent that envelope didn't want to be found. At least, not yet. That realization haunted me more than the photos themselves. Every day after that, I checked the mailbox before Emma could. I watched our street from the window like a paranoid stranger in my own home. I replayed every recent interaction in my head, trying to figure out who knew and how long they'd been watching us. Because whoever sent those pictures hadn't just caught Emma cheating once. They documented a pattern, which meant the affair wasn't new, and the sender wasn't careless. I started digging quietly. Emma worked in marketing at a mid-sized firm downtown. She'd always spoken about her colleagues casually, too casually. Names thrown around without meaning. But now, every name felt suspicious. That night, while she showered, I did something I had never done in our entire marriage. I picked up her phone. My heart was pounding so loudly I was sure she'd hear it through the bathroom door. I knew her passcode, our anniversary. Of course, she hadn't changed it. That would have raised questions. The phone unlocked. Nothing. No obvious messages. No flirty texts. No secret chat apps. She'd been careful. Too careful. But then I checked her deleted messages. And there it was. A number saved under a fake name. HR, office. The messages were short, clean, calculated. Tonight, still okay? Same place. Miss you. My hands clenched into fists. I took photos of the screen with my own phone and put hers back exactly where it was. When Emma came out of the shower, wrapped in a towel, smiling like nothing was wrong, I felt something inside me harden. This wasn't just betrayal. This was strategy. And I was done being the only honest one in the room. The next week, I followed her. She told me she had a late client meeting. I waited 10 minutes, then grabbed my keys and drove behind her, keeping a safe distance. She didn't go downtown. She went to the other side of town, a quieter area, fewer offices, more hotels. My chest felt tight as I parked across the street from a familiar building, the same hotel from the photos. I stayed in the car, hands gripping the steering wheel, as I watched her step out. She looked confident, relaxed, like this was routine. Then he arrived, tall, well-dressed, confident posture. He greeted her with a smile that made my stomach turn. They didn't even hesitate. No checking around. No guilt. They walked in together. That was the moment something inside me broke completely. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I sat there, numb, realizing that the woman I had trusted with my life had turned my love into a joke. When Emma came home that night, she was humming. Actually humming. She kissed me on the cheek, told me she was exhausted, and went straight to bed. I stood in the kitchen long after she disappeared down the hallway, wondering how someone could lie so easily, so effortlessly. The conflict wasn't just between us anymore. It was inside me. Every instinct screamed at me to confront her, to end the charade. But another voice, calmer, colder, told me to wait, because people reveal the most when they think they're safe. And Emma felt very safe. Too safe. A few days later, she dropped her guard. It started with a question. Daniel, she said one evening, pretending to scroll through her phone. Do you ever feel like relationships change? I glanced at her. What do you mean? She shrugged. Like, people grow, want different things. I nodded slowly. That's normal, I guess. She studied my face. And that doesn't scare you? I wanted to laugh. Instead, I said, why should it? Her eyes flickered with something, guilt maybe, or fear. That night, she initiated intimacy for the first time in months. I almost refused. Almost. But then I realized something important. She wasn't reconnecting. She was compensating. And compensation meant cracks. Afterward, as she slept with her head on my chest, I stared at the dark ceiling, counting her breaths, wondering how many times she'd done this, shared intimacy with me after being with him. The thought made my skin crawl. The next morning, I did something risky. I contacted a private investigator. I didn't tell him everything, just enough. I gave him Emma's schedule, her workplace, and one hotel name. He didn't ask many questions. 2 weeks, he said. You'll have what you need. 2 weeks felt like 2 years. During that time, Emma became increasingly uneasy. She started asking where I was going, who I was texting. She'd glance at my phone the way I once glanced at hers. Projection. She was afraid. One evening, she found me sorting through old documents in my study. What are those? She asked casually. Just paperwork, I said. Old stuff. She lingered. You've been acting strange lately. I looked up at her. Strange how? Quiet, she said. Distant. I leaned back in my chair. Maybe I'm just noticing things I ignored before. Her smile stiffened. That was the first time she looked genuinely worried. A week later, the investigator called. Your wife isn't very discreet, he said. She's been seeing the same man consistently. My jaw tightened. Who is he? There was a pause. That's where things get complicated. My heart started racing. What do you mean? He works in her company. The investigator continued. Senior management. I closed my eyes. Name? I asked. He told me. And the moment I heard it, everything clicked into place. Every promotion Emma got, every sudden raise, every late meeting. This wasn't just an affair. This was a power imbalance, a betrayal layered with manipulation. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part came when the investigator said one final sentence that made my blood run cold. There's reason to believe your wife thinks you already suspect something, and she may be preparing for that. Preparing how? I asked. Financially, he said, and legally. My mind raced. Emma wasn't just cheating. She was planning an exit. And if I wasn't careful, I wouldn't just lose my wife. I'd lose everything. That night, as Emma slept peacefully beside me, I stared at her face, so calm, so confident, and realized the conflict had reached a dangerous point. Because now, this wasn't just about heartbreak. It was about survival. What I discovered next would prove that Emma hadn't just betrayed my heart. She was already writing the story of my downfall. The next discovery didn't come from the investigator. It came from my own house. 3 days after that call, Emma left for work in a hurry. She forgot her laptop. That had never happened before. I stared at it sitting on the dining table like a ticking bomb. I told myself I shouldn't touch it. I told myself I already knew enough. But deep down, I knew this was the moment where the truth would stop hiding. I opened it. No password. That should have been my first warning. Her email was already logged in. I didn't search right away. I scrolled. Slowly. Carefully. Like someone walking through a crime scene they weren't emotionally prepared to see. And then I found a folder. Personal 2024. My chest tightened as I clicked. Inside were documents. Spreadsheets, notes. PDFs. One file caught my eye immediately. Post-separation plan. I felt dizzy. I opened it. Emma had planned everything, down to the smallest detail. There were notes about moving money between accounts. Conversations with a lawyer. Drafts of emails she planned to send me. Even a timeline, when to confront me, when to file, when to move out. She had written this sentence in bold. Daniel is passive. He won't fight. I stared at those words for a long time. Passive. That's what 11 years of loyalty had turned me into in her mind. But the worst part, she hadn't planned to leave empty-handed. She planned to destroy me financially. There were highlighted sections explaining how she would accuse me of emotional neglect, how she would frame our distance as my fault, how she'd already spoken to her lover, yes, her lover, about helping her transition comfortably. I scrolled further, and then I saw his name. Not just once, everywhere. He wasn't just her affair partner. He was her safety net, her backup life, her escape plan. The realization hit me like a punch to the chest. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't weakness. This was betrayal with intention. I closed the laptop just as I heard her car pull into the driveway. My hands were shaking, but my face was calm when she walked in. "Hey," she said. "I forgot my laptop." "Did you?" "I didn't touch it," I said evenly. She studied my face for a second too long. Then she smiled. "Good." I was worried. Worried, not guilty. That night, I barely spoke. Emma tried to fill the silence with small talk, but eventually gave up. She went to bed early. I stayed awake, planning. The investigator's report arrived the next morning. Photos, videos, receipts, hotel stays charged to his corporate card, dinner dates labeled as client meetings, and then the final page, a witness statement. The person who had sent me the envelope. My breath caught when I read the name. It was her colleague, not just any colleague, her closest friend at work. The same woman Emma mentioned almost daily. The one she trusted, the one who covered for her. She had sent the envelope anonymously because she was afraid. Afraid of him. Afraid of Emma. Afraid of losing her job. But guilt had eaten her alive, and she couldn't stay silent anymore. Suddenly, everything made sense. Why the photos were so detailed. Why the timing was perfect. Why the warning felt personal. Emma had been betrayed by someone she trusted, just like I had. That night, I invited Emma to dinner. Her eyes widened slightly. "Dinner?" "Just us," I said. "We've been distant. I thought we could talk." She hesitated, then nodded. "That sounds nice." At the restaurant, she played the role perfectly, smiling, touching my hand, laughing at memories. I watched her like a stranger. When dessert arrived, I leaned forward. "Emma," I said softly, "is there anything you want to tell me?" She froze for half a second, then laughed. "Tell you what?" "The truth," I said. Her smile faltered. "I don't know what you mean." I reached into my jacket pocket, pulled out my phone, and placed it on the table. The first photo appeared on the screen. Her kissing him, her face drained of color. "What is this?" she whispered. "You tell me," I replied calmly. She stared at the phone, then at me, her breathing shallow. "How long?" I asked. Silence. "How long, Emma?" Tears filled her eyes, but they weren't tears of regret. They were tears of fear. "I was going to tell you," she said quickly. "I just didn't know how." I nodded slowly. "When?" She looked down. "Soon." I laughed. A short, bitter laugh. "You planned my downfall, Emma," I said quietly. "You weren't going to tell me anything." Her head snapped up. "What are you talking about?" I leaned closer. "Your laptop. Your plans. Your lawyer." Her mouth opened, then closed. She knew. "You went through my things?" she asked, her voice shaking, not with shame, but anger. I smiled sadly. "You went through my life." She stood up abruptly. "This is unfair. Unfair. After everything. I loved you," I said. "I trusted you." She crossed her arms defensively. "You were never there. You stopped trying." I nodded. "And that justified this?" She didn't answer. We left the restaurant separately. That night, she didn't come home. I knew exactly where she was. But for the first time, I didn't care. Because the betrayal was finally out in the open. And now, the game had changed. Emma thought the confrontation was the end. But what she didn't realize was that it was only the beginning of something far more devastating. Emma didn't come home that night. I expected it. Still, when morning light crept through the bedroom window and her side of the bed remained untouched, something heavy settled in my chest. Not pain. Not love. Finality. I made coffee. Strong. Bitter. The kind you drink when sleep feels useless. I sat at the kitchen table where I had opened the envelope weeks earlier and realized how strange it was that everything had started and ended in the same place. By noon, my phone rang. "Emma." I let it ring. Then it rang again. And again. On the fourth call, I answered. "Daniel," she said quickly, breathless. "We need to talk." "We already did," I replied. "No, we need to talk properly. Like adults." I almost laughed. "Where are you?" There was a pause. "At a friend's." I knew which one. "Come home," I said. "Tonight." Silence again. "Okay," she finally said. Tonight. When she walked in that evening, she looked different. No makeup. Hair pulled back. Tired. Smaller. Somehow. For a moment, I saw the woman I had once fallen in love with. Then I remembered everything. She stood by the door like a guest unsure if she was welcome. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. I didn't respond. "I never meant to hurt you," she added. I looked at her then. "That's a lie, Emma. You planned this. She swallowed. I planned to leave, not to hurt you. Those are the same thing, I said. She took a few steps forward. You was supposed to help me start over. I didn't think you'd ever find out. There it was. The truth, stripped of excuses. I know, I said. That's why you thought you were safe. Her eyes narrowed. What does that mean? It means, I replied, you underestimated me. She sat down slowly, like her legs had given out. I don't want a war, she said. I just want this to end cleanly. I nodded. So do I. That surprised her. I could see it on her face. You do? She asked. Yes, I said calmly, but clean doesn't mean easy. I stood up and walked to the study. I came back with a folder and placed it on the table in front of her. What's this? She asked. Everything, I said. Photos, records, timelines, witness statements. Her hands trembled as she opened it. This is illegal, she whispered. No, I replied. What you did is. She looked up at me, panic creeping into her eyes. What are you going to do? Here it was. The turning point. I'm not going to expose you, I said. Not publicly. She exhaled sharply in relief. But I continued. I'm also not going to let you destroy me. Her relief faded. I've already spoken to a lawyer, I said. A very good one. Her jaw tightened. So have I. I know, I said. Yours works in the same building as your lover. Her face went pale. He's conflicted, I added. That's dangerous in your position. She stood up. You're trying to scare me. No, I said quietly. I'm trying to be fair. Fair? She snapped. After spying on me? After following me? You followed your desires, I said. I followed the truth. She laughed bitterly. So what do you want? I met her gaze. A clean separation. No lies. No false accusations. No financial games. She hesitated. And if I say no? I slid one final document across the table. She read it and froze. This can't be real, she whispered. It is, I said. Your company has strict policies about workplace relationships, especially with power imbalance. She looked up at me, eyes wide with fear. You wouldn't. I don't want to, I replied. But I will if you force me. The silence between us stretched thin. Finally, she sat back down. What do you want in the settlement? She asked quietly. I took a breath. What's fair? She laughed weakly. You always say that. I always mean it. Hours passed as we talked, really talked. No yelling, no crying, just facts, consequences, reality. By the end of the night, she looked exhausted. So that's it? She asked. 11 years. Just over? I thought about it. No, I said. It ended a long time ago. We're just acknowledging it now. She nodded slowly. Before going to bed, separately, she stopped at the doorway. You really didn't know at first, did you? She asked. I smiled faintly. No. But I learned. She looked at me one last time. I never thought you'd be capable of this. Neither did I replied. That night, as I lay alone, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. She doesn't know everything yet. My heart skipped. I stared at the screen, realizing with sudden clarity that Emma's betrayal wasn't the final twist. Someone else was still pulling strings. And the truth wasn't finished with us. The message made one thing terrifyingly clear. Emma's affair was only one piece of a much darker secret that was about to come to light. I didn't reply to the message. I just stared at it, my phone glowing in the dark like a warning I wasn't ready to face. She doesn't know everything yet. The words echoed in my mind all night. By morning, I knew one thing for certain. This wasn't about the affair anymore. Someone else knew more than I did. And whoever it was, they weren't done. Emma woke up early, packed a small bag, and left for work without a word. We were living like strangers waiting for paperwork to catch up with reality. As soon as she left, my phone rang again. Same unknown number. This time, I answered. You finally picked up. A woman's voice said, calm, controlled, familiar. My breath caught. You. Yes, she replied. The envelope wasn't enough anymore. It was Emma's colleague, the one who had sent me the photos. Why are you doing this? I asked. There was a pause. Then she said, because Emma didn't just betray you. My stomach tightened. Go on. She used you. The woman continued. The same way she used him. The same way she used the company. I sat down slowly. What do you mean? She's been feeding him information, she said. Confidential client data. Strategy documents. He wasn't just sleeping with her. He was using her. The room felt suddenly too small. And she knew? I asked. Yes, the woman replied. She knew exactly what she was doing. That was the moment the last illusion shattered. Emma hadn't been confused. She hadn't been lonely. She had been calculating. I didn't want to ruin her, the woman added quietly. But I couldn't let you be destroyed for her choices. Why tell me now? I asked. Because she's about to make one last move, she said. And this one could hurt a lot of people, including you. The call ended. I sat there for a long time, replaying every conversation I'd ever had with Emma. Every moment I defended her. Every time I doubted myself instead of her. By noon, I had made a decision. I called my lawyer. Then I called the investigator. Then I waited. That evening, Emma came home early. Too early. She looked tense, rushed, determined. We need to sign the papers tonight, she said the moment she walked in. There's no reason to delay. I studied her face. You're in a hurry, I said. I just want this over, she replied quickly. I nodded. So do I. She relaxed slightly. I've made some changes, she added. Minor ones. Of course you have, I said calmly. She frowned. What's that supposed to mean? It means, I said, standing up. You should sit down. Something in my tone made her hesitate. I placed my phone on the table, opened a file, slid it toward her. What's this? She asked. Everything you didn't think I'd find, I replied. She read, and as she did, the color drained from her face. This is wrong, she whispered. This is fabricated. Is it? I asked. Because it matches your emails, your access logs, your timeline. Her hands started shaking. You shared company data, I continued. You violated contracts. You exposed clients. And you did it for him. She looked up at me, eyes wide with panic. You can't prove that. I tapped the table. Already did. She stood up abruptly. You're trying to trap me. No, I said quietly. I'm giving you a choice. Her breathing was shallow. What choice? You walk away, I said. Cleanly, quietly. You sign what we agreed to. You disappear from my life. And if I don't? She whispered. I met her gaze. Then this doesn't stay between us. For the first time since I'd known her, Emma looked truly afraid. You wouldn't ruin me, she said. After everything, I nodded slowly. You already ruined yourself. Tears streamed down her face. Not tears of remorse, but of loss. Loss of control. Loss of power. I thought you were weak, she said brokenly. I didn't respond. After a long silence, she sat back down. Give me the papers, she said. We signed. When it was done, she stood at the door with her bag in her hand. I never meant for it to go this far, she said softly. I looked at her one last time. That's the difference between us. I never planned to hurt anyone. She left. And just like that, 11 years ended with the quiet click of a closing door. Weeks passed. The company launched an internal investigation. Her lover was suspended, then fired. Emma resigned before she could be questioned. She moved out of state. I heard she tried to start over. But some reputations follow you. As for me, I stayed. I rebuilt. Not just my life, but my sense of self. I learned that love without truth is just another form of betrayal. That silence can be louder than anger. And that sometimes, the person you think is powerless is only waiting for the right moment to stand. The envelope sits in my drawer now. A reminder, not of what I lost, but of what I survived. She thought I knew nothing. But in the end, knowing the truth cost her everything and gave me my life back.